The morning sun cast long shadows across the courtyard of Buckingham Palace, as Sergeant Marcus Thompson adjusted his ceremonial uniform for what he thought would be another routine day. At 34 years old, Marcus had served the royal family for over a decade, earning respect and trust through his unwavering dedication and sharp instincts. His record was spotless, his loyalty unquestioned, and his position as one of Queen Camilla's personal protection officers was a testament to his exceptional service. The palace buzzed with its usual morning activities. Staff members hurried through corridors, preparing for the day's royal engagements. Marcus stood at his designated post near the main entrance, watching as various vehicles arrived and departed. His trained eyes automatically assessed each person, each movement, each potential threat. This vigilance had become second nature to him, an instinct honed through years of protecting some of the most important people in the world. Queen Camilla was scheduled to attend a charity event at a children's hospital that afternoon. The visit had been planned for weeks, with every detail meticulously arranged by the royal staff. Security protocols had been reviewed multiple times, routes had been planned, and backup plans prepared. Everything seemed perfectly normal as the morning progressed toward the scheduled departure time. As the clock approached 11:30, Marcus noticed unusual activity near the motor pool. Several staff members seemed agitated, speaking in hushed, urgent tones. His colleague, Sergeant Williams, approached with a concerned expression that immediately caught Marcus's attention. Williams had been working the palace for 15 years and rarely showed such obvious worry. "Marcus, we need to talk," Williams said quietly, glancing around to ensure they weren't overheard. "Something's not right about today's arrangements." Marcus listened intently as Williams explained what he had observed. A new driver had been assigned to Queen Camilla's vehicle at the last minute. The original driver, Thomas Fletcher, who had been serving the royal family for 8 years, had called in sick that morning. The replacement was someone Marcus didn't recognize, despite knowing virtually every person who worked in the palace's transportation department. "Did you run the standard background check?" Marcus asked, his protective instincts already heightening. Williams nodded grimly. "That's just it. The paperwork is in order, but something feels off. The man's credentials check out, but there's something about his behavior that bothers me. He's been asking questions about the route, about timing, about security procedures that seem beyond what a driver would normally need to know." Marcus felt a familiar chill run down his spine. In his years of service, he had learned to trust these intuitive warnings. They had saved lives before, including his own during a security incident 3 years earlier, when protesters had attempted to breach the palace grounds. The two sergeants walked together toward the motor pool, maintaining casual conversation while carefully observing their surroundings. The replacement driver stood beside Queen Camilla's official vehicle, a pristine black Bentley that served as her primary transportation for public engagements. The man appeared professional in his chauffeur's uniform, but Marcus immediately noticed several subtle details that raised his concern. The driver's posture was too rigid, his movements too calculated. While checking the vehicle, he spent an unusual amount of time examining the trunk area, running his hands along the edges in a way that seemed more investigative than routine maintenance. Most concerning was the small device Marcus glimpsed in the man's hand before he quickly pocketed it. "We need to report this immediately," Williams whispered. But Marcus was already thinking several steps ahead. The timing was critical. Queen Camilla would be departing in less than 30 minutes. If there was a genuine security threat, they needed to act swiftly but carefully. Making false accusations against palace staff was a serious matter that could end careers, but failing to act on legitimate security concerns could have far more devastating consequences. Marcus approached the driver with practiced casualness. "Good morning. I don't believe we've met. I'm Sergeant Thompson, part of Her Majesty's security detail." The man turned with what appeared to be a genuine smile, extending his hand. "James Morrison. Pleasure to meet you, Sergeant. I'm filling in for Mr. Fletcher today." Despite the friendly demeanor, Marcus noticed the man's hand was slightly damp with perspiration, and his eyes didn't quite meet Marcus's gaze directly. These were subtle signs, but in the world of royal security, subtle signs often meant the difference between safety and catastrophe. "First time driving for Her Majesty?" Marcus asked conversationally. "Yes, it's quite an honor," Morrison replied. "I've been briefed on all the protocols." As they spoke, Marcus observed Morrison's body language carefully. The man's answers were appropriate, But there was an underlying tension that experienced security personnel learned to recognize. Morrison's eyes occasionally darted toward the palace entrance as if timing something, and his left hand kept moving to his jacket pocket where Marcus had seen him place the small device. Queen Camilla emerged from the palace entrance at precisely 11:55, as scheduled. She moved with the practiced grace of someone accustomed to public life, acknowledging the staff with warm smiles and brief conversations. Her lady-in-waiting walked beside her, carrying the small handbag and documents needed for the hospital visit. Marcus positioned himself according to protocol, but his attention remained divided between his official duties and his growing concerns about Morrison. As Queen Camilla approached the vehicle, Morrison moved to open the rear door with appropriate deference. Everything appeared normal to casual observers, but Marcus's trained instinct screamed that something was fundamentally wrong. The moment arrived when Queen Camilla was settling into her seat, and Morrison was preparing to close the door. In that instant, Marcus made a decision that would change everything. His years of experience, his loyalty to the crown, and his protective instincts all converged into a single moment of clarity. Without seeking permission or following standard protocol, Marcus strode quickly toward the rear of the vehicle. Morrison had just closed Queen Camilla's door and was walking toward the driver's seat when Marcus reached the trunk. Time seemed to slow as Marcus's hand moved to the trunk release, knowing that this action would either validate his concerns or end his career in royal service. The metallic click of the trunk opening echoed across the courtyard like a gunshot. The trunk lid lifted slowly, revealing contents that made Marcus's blood run cold. Nestled among what should have been standard emergency equipment and royal protocols materials were items that had no business being in Queen Camilla's official vehicle. A sophisticated electronic device with blinking red lights sat prominently in the center, connected by thin wires to what appeared to be plastic explosive material, carefully shaped and positioned for maximum impact. Marcus's training kicked in immediately. Without hesitation, he shouted the emergency code word that would bring every security officer in the palace running. "Blackbird! Blackbird! Immediate evacuation protocol!" The courtyard erupted into controlled chaos. Within seconds, armed officers appeared from seemingly nowhere, surrounding the vehicle with weapons drawn. Morrison, who had been about to enter the driver's seat, froze as laser sights settled on his chest. His professional demeanor cracked instantly, replaced by the desperate look of someone whose carefully planned operation had just collapsed. Queen Camilla, still seated in the vehicle, maintained remarkable composure despite the confusion surrounding her. Years of royal training had prepared her for unexpected situations, though nothing quite like this. Her protection officer immediately opened her door and began guiding her toward the palace entrance, following established emergency procedures. "Stay calm, Your Majesty," Marcus called out, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through his system. "We're handling the situation." The bomb disposal unit arrived within minutes, their specialized equipment and protective gear a stark contrast to the elegant palace surroundings. Expert technicians carefully examined the device while Marcus provided a detailed briefing on everything he had observed. The explosive was sophisticated, clearly designed by someone with extensive knowledge of both demolitions and royal security protocols. Detective Chief Inspector Sarah Mitchell, from Scotland Yard's Counter-Terrorism Command, took charge of the investigation. She was a sharp-eyed woman in her 40s with an impressive track record of solving complex security threats. As Morrison was taken into custody, she began interviewing everyone who had been present. "Sergeant Thompson," she said, approaching Marcus as the immediate danger was being neutralized, "walk me through exactly what made you suspicious." Marcus recounted every detail, from Morrison's nervous behavior to the device he had glimpsed in the man's pocket. He explained his decision to open the trunk without authorization, knowing that this breach of protocol would require extensive justification. "Your instincts may have saved Her Majesty's life," Inspector Mitchell said grimly. "This device was set to detonate during the journey to the hospital. The timing mechanism was sophisticated enough to avoid immediate detection, but crude enough to suggest this wasn't the work of a major terrorist organization." The investigation began immediately. Morrison's background, which had initially appeared legitimate, started unraveling under closer scrutiny. The credentials were real, but they belonged to the actual James Morrison who had been found unconscious in his London apartment that morning. drugged but unharmed. The imposter had assumed his identity with remarkable thoroughness, suggesting weeks or months of preparation. Palace security protocols went into immediate review. Every staff member was questioned, every vehicle inspected, every procedure examined for potential vulnerabilities. The realization that someone had penetrated their security so deeply sent shockwaves through the entire royal protection system. Queen Camilla, once safely inside the palace, insisted on being briefed about the situation. She listened carefully as Marcus explained his actions, her expression grave but composed. The charity event at the children's hospital was postponed indefinitely, while security teams worked to determine the full scope of the threat. "Sergeant Thompson," Queen Camilla said after the briefing, "you showed remarkable courage and judgment today. Your actions undoubtedly prevented a tragedy." Meanwhile, the investigation into Morrison's true identity intensified. Fingerprint analysis revealed he was actually David Kellerman, a former military explosives expert who had been discharged 3 years earlier under suspicious circumstances. His service record showed expertise in demolitions and a growing obsession with what he perceived as the monarchy's excessive privileges. While ordinary citizens struggled economically, Inspector Mitchell's team discovered Kellerman's apartment, which had been converted into a makeshift command center. Maps of royal routes covered the walls, alongside photographs of various royal family members and detailed schedules of their public appearances. The planning was extensive and meticulous, suggesting this attack had been months in the making. Personal journals found in the apartment revealed Kellerman's increasing radicalization. What had begun as general discontent with economic inequality had evolved into a focused hatred of the royal family. He blamed them for society's problems and had convinced himself that eliminating Queen Camilla would somehow spark broader social change. The bomb itself was analyzed by experts who determined it contained enough explosive power to have completely destroyed the vehicle and killed everyone inside. The sophistication of the trigger mechanism suggested Kellerman had help, though no accomplices were immediately identified. The device was designed to detonate when the vehicle reached a specific speed, which would have occurred during the journey to the hospital. As news of the attempted attack began circulating within palace walls, staff members reacted with a mixture of shock and determination. Many had worked alongside the real James Morrison for years, and were disturbed by how thoroughly their security had been compromised. The incident forced everyone to reconsider how well they actually knew their colleagues, and whether additional security measures were necessary. Marcus found himself at the center of intense attention. His decisive action had prevented what could have been one of the most significant attacks on the royal family in decades. However, he also faced questions about why he had acted without authorization and whether proper protocols should have been followed despite the time constraints. Then the investigation expanded to examine how Kellerman had obtained such detailed information about royal security procedures. His knowledge of protocols, timing, and personnel suggested either extensive surveillance or inside information. This possibility sent additional shockwaves through the palace, as the idea of a traitor within their ranks was almost as disturbing as the attempted attack itself. Communication with other royal protection units revealed that similar suspicious activities had been reported at other royal residences, though none as advanced as the palace incident. The pattern suggested a broader conspiracy, possibly involving multiple targets within the royal family. Security for all royal family members was immediately increased while investigators worked to determine the full scope of the threat. Queen Camilla's scheduled appearances for the remainder of the week were canceled or moved to secure locations while the investigation continued. The children's hospital, which had been eagerly anticipating her visit, was disappointed but understanding when the situation was explained to them. The interrogation of David Kellerman began immediately after his medical evaluation confirmed he was mentally competent to be questioned. Inspector Mitchell led the session, accompanied by specialists from Counter-Terrorism Command and a psychological profiler. The interview room at Scotland Yard was stark and clinical, designed to encourage confession through psychological pressure rather than physical intimidation. Kellerman initially maintained his false identity, insisting he was James Morrison and claiming ignorance about the explosive device. However, confronted with fingerprint evidence and photographs from his apartment, His facade crumbled within the first hour. The transformation was remarkable, as the professional chauffeur persona vanished, replaced by an angry, bitter man whose eyes burned with fanatic intensity. "You people live in luxury while children go hungry," Kellerman snarled, finally revealing his true motivations. The monarchy is a parasite on British society. Someone has to make a statement. Inspector Mitchell remained professionally calm, methodically extracting information about Kellerman's planning process. The investigation revealed he had spent 18 months preparing for the attack, studying royal security procedures with obsessive detail. His military background had provided technical knowledge, but his understanding of palace protocols suggested additional sources of information. The breakthrough came when Kellerman, in a moment of arrogant pride, boasted about his inside knowledge. Under careful questioning, he revealed that he had cultivated a relationship with a palace maintenance worker named Robert Hughes. Hughes, facing personal financial difficulties, had been providing information about royal schedules and security procedures in exchange for money. This revelation sent shockwaves through the palace hierarchy. Hughes had worked at Buckingham Palace for 12 years and had access to areas and information that could compromise multiple aspects of royal security. An immediate manhunt was launched, but Hughes had disappeared from his London residence, apparently fleeing as soon as news of Kellerman's arrest became known. Marcus found himself temporarily reassigned to assist with the internal investigation. His knowledge of palace personnel and security procedures made him valuable in identifying what information Hughes might have passed to Kellerman. The scope of potential compromise was staggering, as Hughes had access to maintenance schedules, staff rosters, and even basic architectural plans of the palace. The search for Hughes expanded internationally when investigators discovered he had purchased airline tickets to Dublin under a false identity. Irish authorities were notified, and within 48 hours, Hughes was arrested at a small hotel in Cork, where he had been hiding since fleeing London. His capture provided crucial information about the extent of his cooperation with Kellerman. During his questioning, Hughes broke down completely, admitting to providing information over a 6-month period. His motivation was purely financial, as mounting gambling debts had left him desperate for money. He claimed ignorance about Kellerman's specific plans, insisting he believed the information was being used for a book about royal security, rather than an assassination attempt. The investigation revealed that Kellerman had been extraordinarily patient and thorough in his planning. He had studied Queen Camilla's public schedule for over a year, identifying patterns and vulnerabilities. The children's hospital visit had been selected because the route involved several unavoidable stops and predictable timing, making it ideal for his purposes. Analysis of Kellerman's financial records showed significant expenditures on surveillance equipment, explosive materials, and payments to Hughes. The money had come from the sale of his military pension and personal possessions, indicating this had been his sole focus for many months. There was no evidence of foreign funding or support from organized terrorist groups. Queen Camilla, briefed regularly on the investigation's progress, made the decision to resume her public schedule, despite ongoing security concerns. She felt strongly that canceling appearances would give terrorists the victory they sought. However, security protocols were completely overhauled, with new procedures for verifying personnel and additional layers of protection for all royal movements. Marcus received commendation for his actions, but the experience had changed him profoundly. The realization of how close they had come to catastrophe haunted his thoughts. He found himself questioning whether their security measures were adequate and whether other threats might be developing undetected. The bomb disposal experts provided detailed analysis of Kellerman's device, revealing sophisticated techniques that suggested possible training beyond his military experience. This led to investigation of extremist groups that might have provided additional education or support. Several leads were pursued, but no direct connections were established. The real James Morrison recovered from his drugging experience with no lasting physical effects, though the psychological impact of being impersonated in an assassination attempt was significant. He underwent extensive counseling and security briefings before being cleared to return to duty. The incident had shaken his confidence and that of other palace staff, who realized how easily their identities could be compromised. Palace security implemented new identification procedures, including biometric verification and more frequent background checks for all personnel. The cost was enormous, but the alternative was unacceptable. Every staff member, from senior officials to maintenance workers, had to undergo enhanced screening. Inspector Mitchell's investigation expanded to examine whether Kellerman might have been planning additional attacks on other royal family members. His apartment contained surveillance photographs of Prince William, Princess Catherine, and other senior royals. While no specific plans were discovered, the investigation revealed he had been monitoring multiple targets. The legal proceedings against both Kellerman and Hughes began within weeks. Kellerman faced charges of attempted murder, terrorism, and conspiracy, while Hughes was charged with providing aid to terrorists and breach of official secrets. Both cases attracted significant media attention, though many details were kept confidential for security reasons. The psychological evaluation of Kellerman revealed a man, consumed by ideological hatred but showing no signs of mental illness that would diminish his legal responsibility. His actions were calculated and purposeful, making him fully accountable for the attempted assassination. The evaluation also suggested he posed a continuing threat and would likely attempt similar actions if ever released. Queen Camilla privately met with Marcus to express her personal gratitude for his actions. The conversation remained confidential, but those close to the situation noted the genuine warmth and respect she showed for his service. His willingness to risk his career to protect her life had not gone unnoticed at the highest levels of the royal family. The incident prompted a comprehensive review of security procedures at all royal residences. Experts from various agencies collaborated to identify vulnerabilities and develop enhanced protection protocols. The review process took months but resulted in significantly improved security measures across the entire royal protection system. 3 weeks after the attempted assassination, the full scope of Kellerman's surveillance network began to emerge. Investigators discovered he had been systematically photographing royal family members during public appearances for over 18 months. His collection included hundreds of images taken at various events, each meticulously catalogued with detailed notes about security arrangements, timing, and personnel. The investigation took an unexpected turn when analysis of Kellerman's communications revealed contact with several individuals across Europe who shared his anti-monarchy sentiments. While these contacts didn't constitute a formal terrorist network, they represented a loose alliance of people who viewed the British royal family as legitimate targets for political violence. Marcus continued his regular duties while serving as a key witness in the ongoing investigation. The experience had intensified his dedication to royal protection, but it had also created internal conflict about the protocols he had violated. Senior officers assured him his actions were justified, but the formal review process continued to examine whether changes to emergency procedures were necessary. The psychological impact on palace staff was significant. Many employees who had worked alongside Robert Hughes for years felt betrayed and confused about how someone they trusted could compromise royal security. Counseling services were provided for staff members struggling with these revelations, and team-building exercises were implemented to restore confidence in workplace relationships. Queen Camilla's determination to maintain her public schedule created additional challenges for her security team. Her insistence on visiting the children's hospital, despite the risks, required unprecedented security measures. The eventual visit, conducted 6 weeks after the original date, involved coordinated protection from multiple agencies and complete route security that cost hundreds of thousands of pounds. The children at the hospital were unaware of the dramatic events that had preceded Queen Camilla's visit. They greeted her with genuine enthusiasm, and her genuine warmth toward them provided a powerful contrast to the dark world of terrorism and assassination plots. For Marcus, watching her interact with the children reinforced why his work was so important. Kellerman's trial began 4 months after his arrest, drawing international media attention. The prosecution presented overwhelming evidence of his careful planning and deadly intentions. His defense attorney argued that his military service and subsequent mental health struggles contributed to his radicalization, but medical experts testified that he was fully aware of his actions and their consequences. During the trial, disturbing details emerged about Kellerman's gradual transformation from a decorated soldier to a would-be assassin. Former colleagues testified about his increasing bitterness after his military discharge and his growing obsession with perceived social inequalities. His internet search history revealed months of research into explosive techniques and royal security vulnerabilities. The courtroom was packed with security officials, media representatives, and members of the public interested in understanding how such a plot could have developed. Kellerman showed no remorse during proceedings, occasionally making outbursts about royal privilege and social justice that reinforced perceptions of his dangerous radicalization. Marcus testified about his observations and decision-making process on the day of the attempted attack. His testimony was considered crucial in demonstrating how close the plot had come to success. Cross-examination by the defense focused on whether proper protocols had been followed, but Marcus's credibility and expertise were never seriously challenged. The revelation that Hughes had provided inside information shocked many observers who hadn't realized how extensively palace security had been compromised. His testimony revealed the mundane way sensitive information could be leaked, as he described casual conversations about royal schedules that he had never imagined could be used for harmful purposes. Queen Camilla's security detail underwent complete reorganization following recommendations from the investigation. New personnel were brought in, existing staff received additional training, and communication protocols were enhanced to prevent future information leaks. The changes were expensive and time-consuming, but necessary to restore confidence in royal protection. The international connections discovered in Kellerman's communications led to investigations in France, Germany, and Ireland. While no additional plots were discovered, several individuals were identified as persons of interest for their extremist views and surveillance activities targeting various European royal families. This cooperation between intelligence agencies led to enhanced information sharing about potential threats. Media coverage of the trial raised public awareness about security challenges facing the royal family. While many details remained classified, enough information emerged to demonstrate the sophisticated nature of modern threats and the dedication of security personnel. Public support for increased royal protection funding grew as people understood the real dangers involved. The verdict was unanimous. Kellerman was found guilty on all charges. His sentence of life imprisonment without possibility of parole reflected the severity of his crimes and the continuing threat he posed. Hughes received a 12-year sentence for his role in providing classified information, a punishment that served as a warning to others who might consider similar betrayals. Following the trial, Marcus was promoted to senior sergeant and given additional responsibilities for training new royal protection officers. His experience became a case study in threat recognition and decision-making under pressure. The training program he helped develop emphasized trusting instincts while maintaining proper protocols whenever possible. The attempted assassination had lasting effects on palace culture. Staff members became more vigilant about security procedures, and the casual atmosphere that had previously characterized much of palace life was replaced by heightened awareness of potential threats. While this increased security was necessary, many longtime employees mourned the loss of the more relaxed environment they had enjoyed. Queen Camilla privately acknowledged that the incident had changed her perspective on public appearances. While she remained committed to her royal duties, she developed greater appreciation for the risks her protection officers faced daily. Her relationship with her security team became more collaborative, with regular discussions about threat assessments and protective measures. The investigation's conclusion brought some closure, but it also raised disturbing questions about future threats. Kellerman's ability to penetrate palace security suggested that other potential attackers might be developing similar capabilities. This possibility required ongoing vigilance and continuous improvement of protective measures. The children's hospital visit, when it finally occurred, was deeply meaningful for Queen Camilla. Her interactions with young patients provided perspective on what truly mattered, beyond the world of security threats and political extremism. For the children, her presence brought joy and excitement that reminded everyone why royal public service remained important despite its risks. 6 months after Kellerman's conviction, intelligence agencies across Europe began detecting increased chatter among anti-monarchy extremist groups. The failed assassination attempt had not deterred others with similar ideologies. Instead, it had inspired them to develop more sophisticated approaches to targeting royal families. This development required enhanced international cooperation and sharing of intelligence resources. Marcus found his new role as senior sergeant both challenging and rewarding. He was responsible for training the next generation of royal protection officers, using his experience from the Kellerman incident to teach threat recognition and rapid decision-making. His training sessions became legendary within the security community for their realism and emphasis on trusting professional instincts. The palace had implemented new security technologies following the attack, including advanced scanning equipment and biometric identification systems. These measures significantly improved their ability to detect weapons and verify personnel. But they also created new challenges in maintaining the balance between security and accessibility that royal duties required. Queen Camilla's public appearances gradually returned to normal frequencies. Though each event now involved extensive advance planning and coordination between multiple security agencies, her determination to maintain royal traditions while acknowledging security realities impressed both her protection team and the general public who learned about her. Courage through media coverage, the international investigation into Kellerman's contacts had yielded disturbing intelligence about potential copycat attacks. Several individuals in different countries had been conducting surveillance of their respective royal families, suggesting a coordinated effort to target European monarchies. This information led to unprecedented cooperation between royal protection services across multiple nations. Marcus was selected to participate in an international conference on royal security held in Monaco. Representatives from British, Swedish, Dutch, Belgian, Spanish, and Norwegian royal protection services shared information about emerging threats and best practices for prevention. The conference marked a new era of cooperation in protecting European royalty. During the conference, Marcus learned that the British experience with Kellerman was not unique. Similar plots had been discovered in Sweden and Spain, though none had progressed as far as the palace incident. The pattern suggested an organized effort to inspire lone wolf attacks against royal targets across Europe, possibly coordinated through encrypted communication channels. The technology used by potential attackers was becoming increasingly sophisticated. Intelligence agencies reported that extremist groups were sharing information about security vulnerabilities and attack methodologies through encrypted forums. This development required security services to constantly update their protective measures and stay ahead of evolving threats. Queen Camilla's relationship with her security team had evolved significantly since the assassination attempt. She now participated in regular security briefings and had developed a keen understanding of threat assessments. Her cooperation with protective measures made the security team's job more effective while allowing her to maintain her public commitments. The psychological evaluation of Kellerman, now serving his life sentence, revealed continuing radicalization and no signs of remorse. Prison psychologists reported that he spent his time writing manifestos and attempting to communicate with like-minded individuals. This behavior confirmed that he remained a dangerous influence even while incarcerated. Marcus received recognition from multiple organizations for his actions during the assassination attempt. The Royal Victorian Order was bestowed upon him in a private ceremony, acknowledging his exceptional service to the crown. However, he remained focused on his training responsibilities and the ongoing work of protecting the royal family rather than dwelling on past recognition. The enhanced security measures implemented after the Kellerman incident had successfully prevented 3 additional potential threats that were discovered through improved screening procedures. These successes validated the investment in upgraded security systems, though the details remained classified to avoid compromising future protective effectiveness. The legal proceedings against Hughes concluded with his conviction and sentencing, but the damage he had caused continued to reverberate through palace security operations. His betrayal had necessitated changes to information-sharing protocols and created ongoing trust issues among staff members who had worked alongside him for years. The children's hospital that Queen Camilla eventually visited became a symbol of resilience and determination. The young patients she met were unaware of the dramatic events that had preceded her visit, and their joy at meeting her provided a powerful reminder of why royal public service remained important despite security. Risk-stop media coverage of the assassination attempt and subsequent trial had raised public awareness about the real dangers facing the royal family. This increased understanding led to greater public support for enhanced security measures, even when those measures created inconveniences during public events. The public began to appreciate the dedication and professionalism of royal protection officers. The investigation into Kellerman's international contacts continued to yield intelligence about extremist networks operating across Europe. While no additional specific plots were discovered, the information gathered helped security agencies understand the evolving nature of threats against European royal families and develop appropriate countermeasures. Queen Camilla's public speaking engagements began including subtle references to the importance of security and the dedication of those who protect public figures. While she never discussed specific incidents, her words conveyed appreciation for her protection team and helped the public understand the challenges of maintaining both security and accessibility. Marcus's training program for new royal protection officers became a model for other security organizations. His emphasis on threat recognition, rapid decision-making, and the importance of trusting professional instincts was adopted by police forces and security agencies beyond the royal protection community. The program's success demonstrated how real-world experience could improve training effectiveness. The palace security review that followed the assassination attempt had recommended hundreds of changes to procedures, personnel policies, and physical security measures. Implementation of these recommendations took over a year and cost millions of pounds, but the investment significantly enhanced the overall security posture of all royal residences and operations. The psychological support services provided to palace staff following the Kellerman incident had proven crucial in maintaining morale and effectiveness. Many employees had struggled with the realization that someone they trusted had betrayed royal security, and professional counseling helped them process these feelings while maintaining their commitment to their duties. The ICE International Conference on Royal Security led to the establishment of ongoing cooperation, agreements between European royal protection services, regular information sharing, joint training exercises, and coordinated threat assessments became standard practices that enhanced security for all participating monarchies. 1 year after the attempted assassination, a routine security review uncovered evidence that Kellerman's network had been larger than initially suspected. Analysis of encrypted communications seized from his associates revealed plans for multiple coordinated attacks against European royal families. This discovery prompted an urgent international response and demonstrated that the threat had been even more serious than originally understood. Marcus was assigned to lead a joint task force investigating these new revelations. Working alongside officers from Interpol and various national security agencies, he helped piece together a complex web of communications that spanned multiple countries and involved dozens of individuals, with varying degrees of commitment to anti-monarchy violence. The investigation revealed that Kellerman had been in contact with a former Irish Republican Army operative who possessed extensive knowledge of explosive techniques and urban warfare tactics. This individual, Sean O'Brien, had been providing technical guidance to several would-be attackers across Europe, though he had maintained careful distance from specific operational planning to avoid direct legal responsibility. Queen Camilla's security detail was expanded again as the scope of the threat became clearer. Her protection team now included specialists in electronic surveillance detection, explosive ordnance disposal, and cybersecurity. The comprehensive approach reflected recognition that modern threats could come from multiple directions simultaneously. The palace implemented a new communication system that allowed real-time coordination between royal protection teams and international security agencies. This system enabled rapid sharing of threat intelligence and coordinated responses to emerging dangers. The technology was cutting-edge but required extensive training for all personnel involved in royal protection. Marcus's expertise made him a valuable consultant for other European royal protection services. He traveled to Sweden, Spain, and the Netherlands to share lessons learned from the Kellerman incident and help develop improved threat recognition protocols. His practical experience provided insights that academic security experts couldn't offer. The investigation into O'Brien's activities led to surveillance operations in Belfast, Dublin, and London. Intelligence agencies discovered that he had been maintaining contact with extremist groups across Europe, while carefully avoiding direct involvement in specific attack planning. His arrest required delicate coordination between British and Irish authorities to avoid diplomatic complications. Queen Camilla's public schedule had stabilized, though each appearance continued to require extensive security preparations. Her commitment to maintaining royal traditions while acknowledging security realities had become a model for other royal family members. She often privately praised her protection team's professionalism and dedication. The advanced training program developed by Marcus was expanded to include officers from allied nations. The program's reputation for excellence attracted participants from Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, creating an international network of professionals trained in the latest royal protection techniques. This expansion enhanced security cooperation across the Commonwealth. The psychological profile of extremists threatening royal families revealed common characteristics that helped security agencies identify potential threats earlier. Many shared similar backgrounds of military service, economic frustration, and gradual radicalization through online forums. This understanding improved threat assessment capabilities significantly. The encrypted communication networks used by anti-monarchy extremists were finally penetrated by cybersecurity specialists working with international intelligence agencies. The breakthrough provided unprecedented insight into how these groups operated and planned attacks. Several additional plots were disrupted before they could develop into serious threats. Marcus received promotion to Chief Security Coordinator, making him responsible for overall royal protection strategy and coordination with other agencies. His new role reflected recognition of his expertise and leadership capabilities, demonstrated during the Kellerman crisis and subsequent investigations. The promotion came with significantly increased responsibilities and authority. The trial of Sean O'Brien began 18 months after the original assassination attempt. Evidence presented during proceedings revealed the sophisticated nature of his technical guidance to potential attackers. His conviction on terrorism charges sent a strong message to others who might consider providing similar support to extremist groups. The international cooperation established following the Kellerman incident had evolved into a permanent alliance between European royal protection services. Regular meetings, shared training programs, and coordinated intelligence gathering became standard practices that significantly enhanced security for all participating monarchies. The discovery of additional explosive materials hidden in storage facilities across London demonstrated that Kellerman's preparations had been even more extensive than originally believed. These caches, discovered through information provided by arrested conspirators, contained enough materials for multiple attacks and suggested the plot could have targeted several royal family members simultaneously. Queen Camilla's resilience throughout the extended investigation period impressed both her protection team and government officials. She maintained her public commitments while cooperating fully with enhanced security measures, never allowing the threats to compromise her dedication to royal duties. Her strength became an inspiration for other potential targets of extremist violence. The technological innovations developed for royal protection following the assassination attempt began, finding applications in protecting other high-profile figures. Politicians, judges, and business leaders benefited from security improvements originally designed for the royal family. This broader application helped justify the significant investment in enhanced protective measures. Marcus's investigation team uncovered evidence that several European celebrities and political figures had also been under surveillance by the same extremist network. This revelation expanded the scope of protective measures and demonstrated that anti-establishment violence was not limited to anti-monarchy sentiment but reflected broader hostility toward perceived symbols of privilege and authority. The palace staff counseling program that began after Hughes's betrayal had evolved into a comprehensive support system for all employees dealing with security-related stress. Mental health professionals worked regularly with staff members to address the psychological impact of working in a high-threat environment while maintaining the positive atmosphere necessary for effective royal service. The children's hospital that Queen Camilla eventually visited established a special security protocol for future royal visits that became a model for other institutions. The protocol balanced necessary protective measures with the open, welcoming environment needed for effective royal engagement with the public. The system's success led to its adoption by hospitals and schools across the country. The investigation's conclusion brought formal recognition for all personnel involved in preventing the assassination and dismantling the broader conspiracy. Marcus received the George Medal for gallantry, while other team members received various honors recognizing their contributions to royal security and public safety. These recognitions highlighted the importance of professional dedication and instinctive decision-making in crisis situations. The encrypted communication networks that had been penetrated during the investigation continued providing intelligence about potential threats. Ongoing monitoring revealed attempts by other extremist groups to establish similar networks, allowing security agencies to disrupt threatening activities before they could develop into serious dangers. This intelligence capability became a permanent asset for protecting public figures. The legal framework for prosecuting terrorism-related offenses was strengthened following the trials of Kellerman, Hughes, and O'Brien. New legislation provided clearer definitions of support activities for terrorist operations and enhanced penalties for providing information or assistance to potential attackers. These legal improvements helped deter others from similar involvement. That the comprehensive security review that followed the assassination attempted identified vulnerabilities across all aspects of royal protection. 2 years of implementing recommended improvements had created the most sophisticated royal security system in British history. The investment had been enormous, but the enhanced protection was considered essential, given the evolving nature of modern threats. 2 years after the assassination attempt, Marcus stood in the same courtyard where he had made the decision that changed everything. The location looked identical, but the security measures were now invisible to casual observers while being far more sophisticated than before. Advanced scanning technology, improved personnel verification systems, and enhanced communication networks had transformed royal protection without compromising the traditional atmosphere that remained important for royal duties. Queen Camilla had not only survived the attempt on her life but had emerged as a stronger and more engaged royal figure. Her experience with real danger had deepened her appreciation for public service and her connection with ordinary citizens who faced their own daily challenges. She often spoke privately about how the incident had clarified her priorities and strengthened her commitment to meaningful royal work. The International Alliance of Royal Protection Services that grew from the Kellerman investigation had successfully prevented 17 additional plots against various European monarchies. The cooperation that began as an emergency response had evolved into a permanent network that shared intelligence, training resources, and best practices. This collaboration had revolutionized security for royal families across Europe. Marcus's role as chief security coordinator had expanded beyond British royal protection to include consultation with other Commonwealth nations and allied countries. His expertise was sought by protection services worldwide, and the training programs he developed had become the international standard for royal security operations. His decision to trust his instincts that morning had launched a career that extended far beyond his original duties. The children's hospital that Queen Camilla finally visited had become a symbol of triumph over terrorism. The young patients she met during that delayed visit remained unaware of the dramatic events that had preceded their meeting. But their joy and excitement provided a powerful reminder of why royal public service mattered, despite its risks. The hospital had since established an annual security awareness program in honor of the event. The palace staff who had been affected by Hughes's betrayal had largely recovered from the psychological impact, though the incident remained a sobering reminder of how security could be compromised from within. Enhanced screening procedures and regular counseling support had restored confidence while maintaining the vigilance necessary to prevent future betrayals. The workplace atmosphere had evolved to balance warmth with appropriate caution. Kellerman remained in prison, serving his life sentence without possibility of parole. Prison reports indicated he continued writing extremist manifestos and attempting to influence other inmates, but his isolation prevented him from having significant impact. Psychological evaluations suggested he would never abandon his violent ideologies, confirming that his incarceration protected both the royal family and society as a whole. The investigation that began with Marcus opening a car trunk had ultimately dismantled an international network of anti-monarchy extremists. Over 30 individuals across 7 countries had been arrested and convicted for various terrorism-related offenses. The network's destruction had significantly reduced the threat level against European royal families and demonstrated the importance of international cooperation in combating terrorism. The legal reforms inspired by the case had strengthened laws against providing support to terrorist operations. The precedents established during the various trials had clarified how courts should handle cases involving planned attacks against public figures. These legal improvements had applications beyond royal protection and helped strengthen the broader framework for prosecuting terrorism. Queen Camilla's security detail had become a model for protecting other high-profile figures. The techniques developed for royal protection were adapted for use by political leaders, judges, business executives, and celebrities who faced similar threats. The innovations that emerged from necessity had broader applications that enhanced public safety across multiple sectors. The technological advances implemented after the assassination attempt had revolutionized security operations throughout the palace and other royal residences. Biometric identification systems, advanced scanning equipment, and real-time communication networks had created unprecedented levels of protection while remaining largely invisible to visitors and staff. The investment had been substantial, but had proven its value through enhanced security and prevention of additional threats. The psychological support systems established for palace staff had expanded to assist other government employees working in high-stress security environments. The recognition that exposure to security threats could affect mental health had led to comprehensive support programs that helped maintain both individual well-being and operational effectiveness. These programs had become models for other organizations facing similar challenges. Marcus often reflected on the moment when he decided to open Queen Camilla's car trunk without authorization. The decision had violated established protocols but had saved lives and exposed a major security threat. His experience had become a case study in professional judgment and the importance of trusting experienced instincts when facing unprecedented situations. The broader impact of the prevented assassination extended beyond royal security to influence counterterrorism operations worldwide. The investigation techniques, international cooperation methods, and intelligence analysis approaches developed during the case had been adopted by security agencies globally. The lessons learned had enhanced the capability to detect and prevent terrorist attacks across multiple types of targets. Queen Camilla's public appearances had returned to normal frequency, though each event continued to benefit from the enhanced security measures developed after the assassination attempt. Her determination to maintain royal traditions while acknowledging security realities had inspired other public figures facing similar threats. She had transformed a terrifying experience into an example of resilience and dedication to public service. The investigation's success had demonstrated the crucial importance of individual vigilance and professional expertise in preventing terrorism. Marcus's actions had shown how trained security personnel could make split-second decisions that saved lives and protected democratic institutions. His story became an inspiration for others working in security and law enforcement roles worldwide. The anniversary of the prevented assassination had become an informal day of recognition for royal protection, personnel, and others working to ensure public safety. While the specific details remained largely classified, the general story served as a reminder of the constant vigilance required to protect democratic societies from those who would use violence to advance extremist ideologies. Looking back, Marcus knew that his decision to open the trunk had been the right one, despite the risks involved. The investigation that followed had made the world safer for the royal family and had contributed to broader efforts to combat international terrorism. His trust in professional instincts had prevented tragedy and had launched improvements in security that would protect future generations of public servants.